Hi, everybody. I'm international publicist Michelle Tennant Nicholson. I'm also the precinct vice chair in the East Flat Rock precinct here in Henderson County. And I have an interview today with Raphael Morales. He's running for Hendersonville City Council. Welcome, Raphael.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And where are you right now so that we can kind of locate that photo behind your head?
Yeah, I'm actually in the hallway of the Second Act, which is a coffee shop in downtown Hendersonville, and I'm actually in front of one of the old photographs of the Ford Motor Company dealership that used to be in here, manufacturing facility and car dealership, part of the history of the town. Pretty fascinating. I have a lot to learn about it myself, actually.
So great.
Yeah,
And
definitely encourage
Raphael, you actually graduated from one of the area high schools. Tell us about that.
I graduated from East Henderson High School in 2008. Yeah, it was, I wasn't really into sports whenever I was there. I was more into like speech, drama, theater, music. I was in a bunch of, garage bands and playing shows and everything. So yeah, that was my high school career.
Well, we have that in common. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, and I went to the Performing Arts High School in Louisville, Kentucky. So we have the love of performance in common. So maybe we'll keep everybody a little entertained for 5 minutes or so at least. Okay, at least getting to know you. So at the heart of why you're running and your RalphMorales.com is actually, do you go by Ralph or Raphael?
So Raph, R-A-P-H, without the L. That's just pretty common when people say Ralph. But so yeah, people call me Raph, Rafa, Raphael, but RalphMorales.com is what we settled on. Sort of, yeah, there it is. Yeah, that's the website. Props to Kevin Stipe for all of his graphic work and everything, keeping a pretty consistent image, I think, for marketing, from yard signs to just the branding in general. He's done a fantastic job.
Yeah,
and I think settling on Raph Morales was sort of just it was a marketing idea that my manager and him had collectively. So.
Tell us about these 3 critical features of your candidacy: accessibility, equity, and sustainability. Tell us about that, because it really resonates with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually personally place equity above all things, just to clarify that right out of the gate. So I'd actually prefer on the website if maybe we moved equity above accessibility, but equity means just understanding that not everything affects everybody the same way. Communities are disproportionately impacted by a lot. So socially, economically, culturally, there's broad sweeping implications of what our government, local and national, does in different communities where they are. So equity is just what I kind of place ahead of all things in order to keep everything in check, keep myself in check, keep my loved ones around me in check. If my mom or my brother or my sister, that I'm always the one that's like, hey, like like check yourself, like think about, I'm a big proponent of unlearning behaviors and everything. So, but anyways, I put equity above everything. Accessibility more speaks directly to just to use one example, the website and all the minutes for the city of Hendersonville have never been translated to Spanish. So while we're primarily English-speaking area, we do have a pretty significant Latino community. We also have a pretty significant Micronesian community as well. And none of our city government processes or communications have been translated into any other language, which makes virtually everything they do inaccessible to folks that only speak that language. So bridging language barrier gaps is part of accessibility. Also normalizing conversations about, city practices, committee meetings, locations. A lot of people just feel like there's like a bunch of cool kids in a room making decisions without them, and that they don't have access to that room. So a critical feature of my campaign is empowering folks to show up, to speak up, to listen, and to kind of be active and be a part of this process. So, inspiring civic engagement. Sustainability, while a lot of people would think that reflects more on economic sustainability or environmental sustainability, it's kind of just, what works and what doesn't work for a long period of time. I think I forget who said it. Somebody said at one point, everything fails if you have a scope that's wide enough. So I think what we want to do is have a wide enough scope of long enough sustainable processes that will be in place for future generations. I can say, speaking as a millennial, 31-year-old who's had an economy that's failed him routinely every 7 years. I started working whenever I was 18 in 2008, so it's kind of been nonstop struggle bus for me. In and out of homelessness, having absolutely no social or economic mobility. So I'm sort of trying to encourage folks to pass the torch along, diversify our local government, get some younger voices in there that have their sights on the future in a way that's relevant to these lived experiences and these younger voices' lives. So
yeah, I really resonates with me a lot of what you're saying, and I just, it's all about you though, not me. So I don't want to get, but I just really love what you're saying. And it really, thank you for running. Thank you for your candidacy.
I'm glad. I'm glad that you did that.
Yeah. I also read about you and want you to know that I'm also committed to a trauma-informed society. And thank you for standing up for your family. And just a quick note, I put a pedophile in jail when I was 17, my neighborhood pedophile. So when you go through really crucifying traumatic experiences in your life, I think it does make you an advocate. You want to stand up and advocate for what's right and for what's wrong. What do you think is the main thing in Hendersonville that needs to be addressed?
The number one thing in Hendersonville that needs to be addressed is the generational disparity between those that have and those that have not, which I think is sort of a microcosm of the nation at large right now. We've sort of been feeling that for several years, pretty consistently with different administrations. The narrative has always been about the working class and the 99%. And I think that, now with the George Floyd protesting and Black Lives Matter, community mobilization that we saw last summer, we're seeing sort of microcosms form around the nation of different communities, rural, suburban, urban, sort of rallying behind the idea that there are racially motivated lines drawn in the sand generations prior to us in this living moment that have had dramatic impacts on the way people live their lives today. And I think that we see that in Hendersonville with a racially motivated municipal service district line that was drawn in the 90s to separate the 7th Avenue district from Main Street district. I routinely tell people that 7th Avenue Historic District is actually a white name that was created for a historically Black place in order to make its history more lucrative for the business community at large. So I think the biggest thing is, with economic growth that we're seeing right now, it's sort of unprecedented, really. And we see a lot of cash flow into the real estate market. We see $100,000 over asking on homes, those are cash offers because nobody will finance that. We're seeing sort of this rapid acceleration in real estate. And we see a lot of working class families and families of color sort of being left behind. The city has done well to create the Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Committee, which I'm going to be proudly attending tonight, although I'm not a member because I'm presently campaigning. I will be there, and I think that it's a great step forward. Tonight's their first meeting. But while I do think it's a good step forward, it is just one step. And I think that normalizing civic engagement and getting people sort of rally behind the idea of community autonomy amidst so much sort of unmitigated commercial growth could be potentially remarkable for the future of Hendersonville, for future generations, and sort of inspiring them to pave the path for them, for everyone.
I really, one of the people have heard about the asphalt plant fight here in East Flat Rock, and my husband and I were really behind that. And I met a lot of the younger people, like Wayne Knock, who's a teacher, who he's like, look, there's not to have a job. I'm a professional. I'm a teacher. To find a home, East Flat Rock's it, right? Like Hendersonville and the other areas, the haves and the have-nots that you're talking about is really real for our working class young people, these young professionals who've gone to college, they've done everything right, and they still had, they're they were born and raised here, graduated here. They're having a hard time. And so I think that what you're saying is really resonating with those of us who, I moved here in 2002 because it was such a beautiful area and I was a whitewater kayaker. So I think sprawl is something that I just want to put it, for all my colleagues who are watching this. I think it's something that Hendersonville really needs to watch closely. These are the times with the comprehensive plan that Henderson County is making for 2045. Then you've got all the microcosm issues that you've talked about with Hendersonville itself and the city and how it's actually appropriating water and, different utilities that then cause different ripple effects in the business industry. Really, really great stuff, Raphael. And I also want to say that it's been a struggle bus for me getting my things translated into other languages. So my heart just gets full for all my Latinx families that surround me here in East Flat Rock. So thank you for that. Is there anything that we should have talked about that we didn't talk about before we close?
Yeah, I guess just, if you do live in the city of Hendersonville, our primary is October 5th. We do have 6 candidates running for 2 seats. So, to go full circle back to accessibility, I believe that, it's hard to get people mobilized and activated right now because it is an off-year election. It's a local election. There's a primary, so there's 2 rounds of voting. So we do have some obstacles to overcome in getting the vote out and reaching people where they are. So I would just, sort of rally behind the call that October 5th, get out the vote, get your friends together, talk about the issues. My campaign is having its kickoff event this Sunday, August 29th at Continuum Art Gallery. It's on the corner of First Avenue and King Street. So we're going to be there. We have a congressional candidate who's going to be there speaking, as well as founding members of the Henderson County Black History Collective and other organizers and advocates in the community. So it's going to be great. And just looking forward to October 5th and everything we're going to do in the meantime.
I'm so glad that you were able to spend some time with me today. If you're watching this video, you're the one who can make a difference by telling 5 to 10 people about this video, having them get to know Raphael and actually being active. If you care about Hendersonville, you're going to vote. Thanks so much for being with me today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.